They arrived without fanfare. Their ships were plain, gray hulls, angular and industrial, no ornate banners or blood runes like ours. No ceremonial drums, no gleaming armor plating. Just cold efficiency. When they disembarked, I was surprised to see how small they were compared to most warrior species. The average Trezari stands over 2.5 meters, our limbs plated in chitinous armor. The Carrack tower even higher, their bone structures like exoskeletal fortresses. But the humans, they were barely 2 meters tall, soft-skinned, fragile-looking, and wearing fabric rather than armor. And yet their eyes. Stars, those eyes. Not the eyes of prey. Not even the eyes of simple predators. They were calculating, quiet, measuring. They didn't look around with arrogance or awe. They assessed us, as though we were entries in a tactical manual. The Zirin called them under-evolved. The Ashkara joked that the humans' bones would snap before the training began. Even I thought so. Until the training started. 2. The training fields of Orvan 9. The Great Concord training field was vast. 10 square kilometers of alloyed terrain, simulated gravity shifts, and atmospheric hazards. Each species was to demonstrate its martial doctrine under observation. The Zirin began first. Their display was magnificent. Formation tactics, harmonized war chants that boosted reflexes through resonance. Their movements were fluid, precise, artistic. The crowd roared in appreciation. Next, the Carrack brute power incarnate. Their strikes shattered reinforced targets. Their armor deflected plasma rounds. Even the recording drones had to pull back from the concussive shock. Then the humans stepped forward. There was no chanting, no music, no telepathic unity. Just an officer, Colonel Hayes, giving curt, clipped commands. Their formation shifted, expanded, contracted, silent, efficient. Are they preparing to meditate? One Zirin sneered. But when the signal sounded, the humans moved. 3. The moment the galaxy fell silent. The first shock was their synchronization. Every movement was deliberate, timed, exact. They sprinted, not with animalistic fury like the Carrack, nor with elegance like the Zirin, but with purpose. Each human adjusted their speed, spacing, and line of sight to maintain a geometric formation while traversing simulated debris. They communicated only with brief hand gestures. No spoken words, no psychic links. Their drills looked mundane. Until you realized what they were doing. They were simulating failure conditions. Practicing for when everything goes wrong. A soldier fell, pretending to be injured. The others instantly shifted to cover his field of fire. No hesitation. No break in formation. The aliens watching began to murmur. Then the humans repeated the exercise. Again. And again. Hours passed. They ran the same drills under heat, under simulated acid rain, under artificial gravity surges. Their muscles trembled, their faces shone with sweat, but they never stopped. No stimulants, no regenerative aids, no nanite recovery. Just grit. And when one collapsed from exhaustion, their commander simply said, "He'll be fine. Hydrate him and put him back in rotation." The crowd gasped. To push one soldier so hard was unthinkable to most species. Training was meant to refine skill, not test pain thresholds. But the humans, they embraced it. Not because they enjoyed suffering. Because they knew suffering was the price of survival. 4. Lessons in discipline. Later that day, I was granted clearance to observe their barracks. I expected rest, boasting, perhaps the sharing of combat stories. Instead I found silence. They were cleaning their weapons. Polishing, recalibrating, checking every seam and joint. Not because it was ordered, but because it was habit. One young soldier, barely past his second decade, noticed me watching and smiled faintly. "Can't afford a malfunction when it matters, sir," he said. His tone was respectful but distant, as if the task before him, maintaining readiness, was sacred. I asked their commander, Colonel Hayes, why they trained so hard for an exercise. He looked at me, and his answer has haunted me since. "Because the universe doesn't care if we're tired. The enemy won't wait until we're ready. We train until breaking point, so when the real thing happens we don't." There was no arrogance, no boast. Just conviction. The other species react. By the second day, the other warrior species began watching the humans in silence. The Carrack, who prided themselves on strength, saw how the humans carried wounded comrades for miles without complaint. The Xeran, who relied on synchronization chance, realized that human coordination came not from psychic links, but from trust and repetition. The Ashkara, whose healing factor made pain irrelevant, couldn't comprehend why the humans pushed through agony they didn't have to endure. One Xeran priest approached me and whispered, "They train like those who have known extinction." And I realized he was right. No other species trains like that because no other species evolved on a world as merciless as Earth, where everything from the air to the weather to the wildlife tried to kill them. Humans don't train for war. They train because peace is the anomaly. 6. The Simulation War. On the third day, the Concord initiated the mock battle, a simulation designed to test tactical coordination among mixed species units. The humans were assigned as support to the Trazari and Xeran. Most assumed they would play a minor role. When the simulation began, chaos erupted, as intended. Terrain hazards, enemy drones, signal jamming. The Xeran formations faltered under disrupted telepathic links. The Carrack charged recklessly and fell into ambushes. But the humans, they adapted. Their comms failed, yet they switched instantly to visual signals. When a Xeran unit panicked, a human sergeant took command without hesitation, restoring order. They treated the battlefield like a problem to solve, not a ritual of glory. At one point, a plasma storm wiped out half their cover. Most species would retreat. The humans advanced, low, coordinated, using smoke and debris to mask movement. Their simulation performance scored 92%. The next best was 64%. When the final horn sounded, the humans simply reloaded their rifles and waited for debriefing. No cheers. No victory roar. Just calm professionalism. They weren't showing off. They were practicing for the next fight. 7. The fear beneath the respect. That night, as the campfire light flickered across the alien encampment, the murmur spread. The Xeran called them terrifyingly patient. The Carrack refused to spar with them again. Even the Ashkara healers admitted they found human endurance unnatural. And in the shadows I felt something new, something that warriors rarely feel about others. Fear. Not because humans were the strongest. They weren't. Not because they were the fastest. They weren't. Not because they were the smartest. But because they combined enough of everything, and refused to stop when reason said they should. Their strength was not in muscle or technology. It was in the mind that whispers, "Get up," even when logic says stay down. Even when the body screams no. That, I realized, is what makes humanity dangerous. 8. The final demonstration. On the last day of the Concord, each species was asked to demonstrate its core philosophy of combat. The Xeran performed their unity song. The Carrack smashed through an obstacle fortress. The Ashkara regenerated under live fire to prove their invulnerability. The humans, they asked for a small empty arena. Their commander stood before us calm. No weapons, he said. Just a rope. The audience murmured in confusion as a simple length of cord was produced. The humans paired off, one holding the rope, the other trying to take it. First it looked absurd. But then we realized what they were doing. Teaching restraint, leverage, control. They weren't training to kill. They were training to end conflict. The rope changed hands again and again. Every time the humans adapted faster, predicting each move, refining their technique. Their instructor watched, nodding silently. When the session ended, the crowd, the most hardened killers in the galaxy, was silent. Because they finally understood. Humans don't need claws or plasma or genetic enhancements. They turn anything into a weapon, even weakness. 9. The truth of humanity. In the weeks that followed, I reviewed my recordings of the event dozens of times. Every frame showed the same thing: persistence. Not divine strength. Not cosmic destiny. Just persistence. They don't rise because they are gifted. They rise because they must. Their planet forged them that way. Every challenge, every predator, every failure became a teacher. They bleed. They break. They fall. And they get up. No other species I've known does that. When the Trazari lose, we mourn. When the Carrack lose, they rage. When humans lose, they learn. The Council's decision. When the Concord ended, the Galactic Council convened to discuss the results. The Xeran proposed inviting the humans as tactical advisors. The Carrack wanted to ban them from further exercises, citing psychological instability. The Ashkara simply avoided the subject altogether. And when my turn came to speak, I said only this. Do not underestimate the species that practices dying so they can learn how to live. There was silence in the chamber. Because we all knew it was true. Humans don't just fight wars. They prepare for them long before they begin. Their training isn't about perfection. It's about survival. And survival, in the end, is the most powerful form of warfare. 11. Epilogue. Years later. Has been 16 cycles since that day. The galaxy has changed. The Dominion fractured. New wars have begun. And the humans, they have grown stronger. I have seen their colonies on the frontier worlds. Harsh, cold, barely habitable. And yet they thrive. Their children grow under storms that would kill most species. Once we thought them fragile. Now we know the truth. They are fragile like glass, but glass can cut deeper than steel. When the next great war comes, I have no doubt who will stand last. Not the Xeran with their songs. Not the Carrack with their power. Not even my own Trazari with our strategy. It will be the humans. Tired, bleeding, half-broken, but still standing. End of log transmission. Commander Raltoran, Trazari Dominion. Final annotation. The galaxy's strongest warriors fell silent, not because humanity shouted, but because they trained without end.